I had a pastor who had this little plaque on his desk. The person sitting across from me is more important than the project that we're working on, you know? And I think the way that God uses opportunities, the way that he's always structuring those opportunities is for relationship. You know what I mean? Like Esther had an opportune moment to go before the king, but that was for the purpose of saving God's people. The opportunities are for people, and relationships are the opportunity of heaven when we think about it that way, you know?
And I think that's when it gets the most, that's when it gets the most twisted, is when you're in the midst, when you've been blessed with an opportunity and you somehow think that it was about the opportunity when you get there and not actually about the people who are there. You know, it's like so many moments, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, of like walking into God ordained opportunities, things that you know are from the Lord, and you get there and you're maybe excited about what you get to do, and then there's like a person and you're like, oh, this is why we're here. Like,
Hello everyone, my name is Zach and you're watching the AXL Podcast. In this season of the podcast, we're diving into our drivers. So we gathered a few people from our community to see how they're applying these drivers in their everyday life. So let's jump in.
Well, welcome everyone to another episode of the AXL Podcast. Super excited to be here, super excited to have you guys. AXL exists to equip and empower sons and daughters to advance the kingdom of heaven through their creative expression. And today we're going to be talking about our drivers. This series, we're actually delving into our drivers and what our drivers are, our unique characteristics, or what sets AXL apart from other kingdom creative communities or creative communities in general. So today we're talking about relationship over opportunity. I love this driver. And before we delve into it, let's go around the room and introduce ourselves. My name is Angela.
my name is Jasmine.
My name is Jonathan.
My name is Dario.
My name is Ezra.
My name is Jillian.
Awesome. I'm excited to dive into this driver. I think it's important. Like I said, the driver today is relationship over opportunity. But before going off into a tangent or really just diving in, I want to give the listener a chance to understand what we mean about relationship over opportunity as it pertains to the kingdom or being a son and daughter in the realm of creativity. So I just want to open up the floor and just ask you guys, what does relationship over opportunity even mean?
Well, I would just say, I think there's a lot of facets to it, but what comes to mind for me is a lot of times in a creative space, there's just going to be opportunities come. There's going to be things always being presented. And I would say in the world, it's very easy to choose those opportunities before you choose the relationships, the people that you're building with, the community that you're called to, the friendships that God has called you to, or even just seeing people in general. And sometimes we can almost bulldoze through relationships to try to get the thing that we feel like we should have or we have a right to because we're creative or whatever it is. But we're just saying, as kingdom creatives, we always choose relationship over opportunity. We choose to steward the people that God has entrusted us with in our lives more than we choose or over choosing the winning success opportunities that are put in front of us.
Yeah, that's good.
One of the things that it makes me think about is almost like with relationship over opportunity, it almost feels like something familiar versus something new. And I think very often with opportunities, it's like when I think of opportunities, I think of like, oh my gosh, it's this project or it's working with this person and it's something that I'm not familiar with at all. Versus a relationship that has been built over a long period of time that you have grown to be comfortable with. And in a way, by saying relationship over opportunity, you're really trying to honor what's kind of been built there or what you're building. So I think of my family and my kid, like my wife and my kids, my family. And when I was on my own, it was super easy for an opportunity to come up and just be like all about it. But we had kids young, and that was a very clear filter for whether I take on a job or not, based on how much time that was going to take. And so I think in those times, it's always a measure, for me at least, it's always a measure of, whether the opportunity is worth losing on some of that family time, because it's all kind of connected for me in this season.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think what's cool about this driver is it's not saying relationship, not opportunity.
Right.
It's relationship over opportunity.
Yeah.
Both are important, but when given the choice, or given that sort of, like you were saying, Jonathan, like when there's a deciding factor of, am I going to value this person or this moment or this opportunity? I think it's choosing the thing that will last forever. You know what I mean? Like people last forever. I had a friend in high school, and he printed this shirt that said "People last forever," and it stuck with me because that's what we're investing in when we're choosing a relationship over an opportunity, especially when we think about opportunity in the world's eyes, is we're choosing the thing that will last forever, and we're storing up treasures in heaven. You know what I mean? Those are the treasures that moth and rust won't destroy. So it's something that that phrase alone has just been such like a driver, for lack of better words, for me. just since hearing that, it's a filter that I kind of process my decisions through, like Jonathan was saying.
That's so good.
I love that. And I love that what you're saying, it's not that opportunities are bad, but there is something about what the Lord loves and who the Lord loves and his people. And so us getting the heart of the Father to be able to love people as the opportunities come, and us being able to filter out what those are. It leads me to this question that, like, we asked the AXL community at large in the beginning, and it was worded a little bit different, but I want to word it with with relationship in mind. Like, how was relationship affected by the fall? Takes 170 seconds to form an answer. I think it's a question.
I mean, I think out the gate, when Adam was confronted, he automatically betrayed, like, as far as relationship goes. I think there's this, like, even in relationship over opportunity, it's like on a personal level sort of thing, when there's an opportunity, and it almost becomes an opportunity to look out for oneself. Like, in that, I mean, in that moment, that as far as relational, I'm thinking that's the first thing that happened between man, was that, no, it wasn't me. It was Eve, sort of thing. And that compromise on that immediately. But
it makes me think of a facet of it that I don't think we talk about a whole lot, and that's relationship with the Lord. But it's like sometimes if we're not careful, we compromise relationship with God for an opportunity. And we'll find ourselves in positions to pursue creative opportunities and things that actually make us sacrifice or compromise our convictions or things that God has already spoken to us about. And so he's like, hey, I don't want you to do this, this, and this. I want you to focus on this. And then we get an opportunity, like, actually, I'm going to do all the things that God told me not to do because the money is just right for this situation, or this connection could just open up so many other things. And then we end up, it's affecting our intimacy with the Lord, I don't know, in that scenario, their opportunity that was presented to them by the snake resulted in a distance between him and God, in that relationship forever, or until okay,
glory,
until Jesus. That's a different podcast.
Right.
But we don't talk about that a lot, but I think that's real. In relationship over opportunity as well.
Yeah, that's good. And oftentimes, almost every time, how our relationship with the Lord is how we are going to display our relationship with people. So if we're not making a priority to make sure that we're in healthy relationship with the Father, or like being obedient to those things that he's asking us to do, or standing in our convictions. It's so easy to look at a person and do the same thing and just compromise a little. I know they don't like when I do, or I know when, and just compromise because we are already doing it in our relationship with the Father. So I think that's beautiful.
The what comes to mind for me is like, as you're processing that, like the lie that the serpent said to Eve was, you will be like God. And that's the same like lie that comes not in every opportunity, but that he can use to drive opportunity over relationship, is that by taking this and sacrificing the relationship that God has ordained, that you will be like God. And there's this like Lucifer-esque pride that can raise up, and this picture of ourselves as being more important than our brother and our sister, that really leads to further division and further accusation of the brethren when we choose to listen to that lie instead of prioritizing the relationship, which is what Jesus and God in the garden was prioritizing.
Wow. So good. So good. Deacon, you have anything to say?
She called him Deacon.
I called him Deacon.
Wow.
He's the deacon.
Lord have mercy. It's processing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things to unpack. I think kind of what Ezra is talking about made me think about how it's important to steward opportunity. Opportunities to grow in God, with God in relationship. And I think about Solomon, like he stewarded the opportunity in the moment with intimacy with the Lord, and the Lord's communicating back to him and he's responding back. But he stewarded the relationship with the Lord. He stewarded even what the Lord had poured and gave him, the wisdom and all the things that came with it. But I feel like one of the things that stood out to me in that space, and I think about it every day as a leader, as a father, as a husband, in the same way as Solomon was, is he stewarding the relationship, and is it stewarding relationship becoming so familiar that you kind of like start shifting into opportunity, the opportunities that relationships bring you, and just being aware of your patterns and habits, and just going in, I think, a little bit deeper and being more intentional.
So good. Jillian.
Yeah. I mean, I think in regards to the fall, it's like with relationship, there was like just separation, and there had to be a way to reconnect and have that intimacy again with God. And it's like a deep thing to process.
She hit us with a heart, like a deep
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting that I feel like out the gate, the Lord gave Adam an opportunity, sort of thing. There, like his approach to it was not like, "Yo, I know what you did. What are you doing?" I told you. Like he came to the table asking questions. Like he came ready to build relationship and to give Adam an opportunity to draw close. Like you were saying, from the standpoint of his priorities were Adam in relationship with him, and digging in deeper. He didn't immediately like be like, "Where are you? Get out of here!" Like, and kick him out of the garden, like straight out the gate. He wanted to, build that relationship.
Yeah, I think that also, I just see that pattern consistently, even throughout the Bible. Like, if I think about the next story, I think a couple of stories down when you're looking at Cain and Abel. The Lord's responding like in relationship to Cain, asking where's his brother. Like, it's just really interesting that God, even like all throughout the Bible, is constantly wanting to build a relationship. When we take opportunity over it. So even like processing that now in all that we do, like what things do we move forth in opportunity that the Lord is sitting to respond back with relationship in on a daily basis.
That's so good.
Wow.
I kept hearing this phrase when we were processing, like getting ready for this conversation. I just heard the phrase like relationship is the opportunity of heaven. Like when we are sitting across the table from someone working on a project,
Yes.
whatever it is. I had a pastor who had this little plaque on his desk, and he said, it said, the person sitting across from me is more important than the project that we're working on.
Yes.
You know? And I think like heaven, the opportunity at hand, like it is an opportune, like that's the root word of that word, you know? It's a moment. I think about like the way that God uses opportunities, but his opportunities, the way that he's always like structuring those opportunities is for relationship. You know what I mean? Like Esther had an opportune moment to go before the king, but that was for the purpose of saving God's people. The opportunities are for people, and they are the opportunity. The relationships are the opportunity of heaven when we think about it that way. You know?
And I think that's when it gets the most. That's when it gets the most twisted. Is when you're in the midst, when you've been blessed with an opportunity, and you somehow think that it was about the opportunity when you get there, and not actually about the people who are there. You know, it's like so many moments, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, of like walking into God ordained opportunities, things that you know are from the Lord, and you get there and you're maybe excited about what you get to do, and then there's like a person, and you're like, oh, this is why we're here. Like, this is actually why we had to do this, is because this person needed Jesus. Like, he wanted to love them. He was jealous for them. And so he had me come all the way to this thing by way of this connection and here, because he just wanted to say something to this person. And so I love it. Like in so many of these drivers, like you said, it's not that opportunity is wrong, or like it's not that the over blank is wrong. It's when it's misappropriated, or when we put it in the wrong order, or it's the wrong priority. The relationship is unto, or the opportunities are unto something. Especially when we're saying presence over performance, when we're saying we've heard God and obeyed, and we're just doing what the Father is doing. Whatever he's doing, there's always going to be a person that he's wanting to love on through it, you know?
And I think it's interesting because like how opportunity becomes perverted is when it is that misprioritized. You know, when we don't recognize that the Father has a heavenly, what did you say it was, Ezra?
Relationships are the opportunity of heaven.
Yeah, I love that. Like, especially when we don't see it like that, we can just miss it, you know. And so I want to go back to even what you were saying, Dariel, about just so many times in the Bible where the Lord was giving us a chance to have relationship. And I think even in this driver, we can find and we can look at Jesus and see how he was in relationship with people. Your story right now, or this example that you were just saying, reminded me of the woman at the well, you know, how there was an opportunity for Jesus to keep going into the town with the disciples and get food. And, you know, there was just an opportunity for him to keep going, but he took a moment to see somebody in the midst of something that, you know, like he's hot, he's tired. It says that he was weary, you know, when he was sitting there. Like, how many of us have ever been like annoyed or like, you know, hot,
thirsty,
something, hungry, and somebody is just there, and you know the Lord is highlighting them, and you're like, God, my gosh, not right now, Lord. I just, can I get food first? Can I get a cup of coffee before they start talking to me, before I begin my day? And Jesus modeled that even in the midst of that he wanted to use that moment to build relationship with somebody.
It's so good.
And I think that's when we're talking about relationship over opportunity, we're saying even until like the opportunity for my flesh to be satisfied, you know, like for me to just sit and chill or get some coffee or have my headphones in. Like I want to find you, Jesus, and I want to model how you perfectly modeled relationship to minister to somebody.
Yeah, that story makes me think of all these other Bible stories. Like, it's like lighting up all these other moments of like, oh my gosh, he did this so much, you know. Like, it makes me think of the loaves and the fish, and how they needed food for all these people, and they take the lunch from this little boy, and use the lunch to feed all these people, you know, and God multiplies the food. It just made me think like, man, Jesus could have did that in any way.
Mm-hmm.
Like he could have fed them in so many other ways. But there's this little boy that we probably don't think about a whole lot, that his life was probably radically shook because they chose they chose to use his lunch to feed all these people, and he got to see it happen from his lunch, you know, like, but he didn't have to do it through this little boy's lunch, you know? And so anyway, just that, you're just making me think of all of these things that, because sometimes relationship over opportunity, it feels inconvenient. There may be like a faster or seemingly better way to accomplish something than by pursuing the relationship, you know? In that story, I'm sure Jesus could have got water fast if he wanted to, you know, like just could have had some water, moved on, you know? They could have got food for people. He could have multiplied it just like that, you know what I mean? Or took something else and multiplied it, or made it come out of thin air. But he chose people, and it wasn't necessarily convenient or faster or easier.
It's so good.
It makes me think of the shepherd that goes after the one sheep.
Yes.
You know, like it can seem insignificant or small or not important, or like, let's just move on. And it's like the one, you know? There's so many stories that come to mind.
I think it also presents, when all these stories like are highlighted, I feel like it presents an opportunity to, when God wants to build in a space of relationship, to grow, that it's a place for us to posture our hearts to understand what the pacing is for our purpose. Because if I think about stories, I'm thinking about Hosea and Gomer, I'm thinking about Job, I'm thinking about this churches in Revelation. Like there's so many opportunities that God responded differently to the pacing of the heart of man or church or whatever it is in that hour, in that moment. So it's just being intentional to ask the Lord, like, what is the pace? Like, what is your heart, so I can be in unity with you?
Wow.
That's so good.
That's so good. Were you gonna say
No,
something?
go for it. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, before you said that, I just felt like I just heard like slow down. Like it's like slowing down. A lot of the times, you know, like and that pace, like I feel like it's so important. It's like the kingdom pace is almost different. And it's not that you don't move fast at times or accomplish a lot, but it's like, I guess it's awareness or being in tune and being like available to slow down. I was thinking about how it's so funny how I feel like I can like want to get to the end of a project or like rush or like let's accomplish things, and like I can have that driven personality sometimes where I'm like, let's just get it done, like, you know what I mean? So it can feel counterproductive slowing down and you know, taking a route that doesn't make as much sense. And it's funny how sometimes, and I'll speak for myself, like it can feel like we want to advance the kingdom quickly and like get things done for God fast. And like it's like I want to obey God fast, and I'm gonna do it good, and I'm gonna do it right, and like let's go. You know what I mean? And so it's like you're almost like checking things off to like do it for him, and you're like, look what I did for you, you know, like, and you want him to be proud. But I think like you can get lost along the way, and you can like do it in a way that like isn't healthy, or like burnout, or burning bridges along the way, or like not letting people be seen around you, or like missing what mattered at the end of that advancing the kingdom. Like advancing the kingdom is people. It's people. That's all it is. You know what I mean? And so it's like if you miss people along the way of the end result being people, then you missed it. Like, you know?
So true.
Wow.
Think about like Jesus again. I mean, it's like the disciples were always saying like, when are you gonna basically like burst into a ball of fire and destroy the Romans and like
Do it.
get us to where we're all know we're gonna be, you know?
Go.
And he's and the whole time he's like, no, let's just like hang out.
Just gonna build a table.
Yeah, like I'm gonna take a nap on the boat and you guys, you know what I mean? Like, and he's just hanging out and like spending time with his disciples and his friends, you know? There's a scripture in John 17. It's the last time Jesus prays before going like to the garden and, you know, essentially being crucified. And he's talking to the Father and he says, I do not pray for the world, but for those that you have given me. And he's like focusing in on the 12 people that God has given him, that the Father gave him to have relationship with. And for 3 years, he modeled to us what it looked like to, exactly like you're saying, like to walk at that pace, to not walk in, take over, but to have eternity in mind. And the marathon, eternity is a long time. We got a long time, you know what I mean? Like, so he's not in a rush, and like these are the things that matter. And the fact that he modeled that for us is wild.
Even when he came back, so he dies, resurrects, comes back, and he or I shouldn't say comes back, he comes back to life is what I should say. He comes and does breakfast with Peter. You know, like he's on the shore, Peter's on the boat, he's like, hey, cast your net over there to the other side, and Peter looks and realizes it's him, you know, until he comes back and says they go on a walk. And that's the whole moment where he's like, Peter, do you love me? He asks Peter 3 times, Peter responds, and then it says he makes them breakfast. Like, you know, just in light of what you're saying, just that pace of Jesus, like, I just rose from the dead, let's have some fish. Let's eat together. Like, so
it's not what you think the first thing would be.
Yes.
It's not what you think.
But imagine like how he modeled that investment in just the 12, how that ripple effect, like he's the most famous name in the world, Jesus, you know, from what seemed so seemingly small. Like, this is a small, like, Jesus could have done, he had the potential to do so much and to grow in fame and to, you know, he had the potential, but he modeled for us to invest in what seemed little, or like, even at a time, he's like, how much longer shall I be with you? And you just not get, you know, like, you know, there are moments where I'm sure he was like, okay, y'all, we've been together. We've been doing this for 3 years. You're still asking, you know, but he modeled that, and it had way more of an impact than we probably think in our natural sense it could.
I think even the parallels in these biblical stories shows like God's like investment for a relationship with man. When I think about Adam in the cool of the day of walking, to be like, and he's coming back like, who told you you were naked? To be in the space of walk with Peter after resurrecting, like the eternal process of relationship that God has is like trumps any process of opportunity that we have in our finite minds. So just taking the time to tap in to hear what the God is saying, or reading from the scriptures, like it'll just draw you into a space. And we only see through a glass darkly. So like it's really special to just be in that moment, and just that's why the pacing is so important. So you can capture it and just pause in those moments and realize how macro God is, but how he cares about every small detail of how he designed us to build a relationship with each other in him.
Wow. I think about how Jesus even like forsook the opportunity to be offended at Peter in a moment. He decided, hey, this relationship's more important than you say, you know, and he knew before saying that on this rock I shall build my church. You know, he knew what was going to happen. He's like, Peter, you actually will deny me. I like, no, but like there was a moment where like most of us could be offended in a space and just forsake the relationship portion and take the opportunity of offense. But Jesus modeled, I'm not going to take the opportunity to be offended at you. I'm going to take this opportunity to build even more in relationship, walk with you, like sit with you, have breakfast with you. And that should be even with us. Like there's so many moments when we're doing life with people in every sphere where we're going to get hurt, where we're going to get offended, where people will betray us and backstab us. But if we can see it like the Father, to go after the opportunity of relationship over the opportunity of offense, I think that's another perspective in which we can look at relationship over opportunity. Is like, Lord, how do I overcome the offense that my heart wants to take on and actually see this person as a son, as a daughter, and invest in them, even if it's just in a moment of forgiveness, not necessarily continue like relationship, though it could be that, but more so in a moment of like this we need to have reconciliation because you're my brother, you're my sister, I love you because Jesus loves you.
We are just starting the discussion of this driver, so be sure to check in next time as we continue the conversation. If you would like to keep up with what's happening at AXL, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at AXL Creative Co. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
What's up, guys? My name is Angela.
My name is Zach.
Hey guys, I'm Cheyenne.
Hey, what's up? I'm Chris.
Thank you so much for watching the
AXL Creative Co channel.
Now, before you go clicking on that YouTube profit, please leave us a comment below with your favorite takeaways from this episode, and we'll see you next time.